The localization of sound, though, is extremely important for all aspects of not just knowing where the car is speeding from, right? But also in terms of your mixing, because when you mix, you only have so much sonic space. If you relate it to painting, your canvas is only so big. And if you crowd it too much, it distorts the picture. So you really have to utilize your sonic space efficiently so that you can get a lot of separation between elements so that it really becomes understandable. That's the mark of a really good mix. And it's not just left-right. Visually, you'd have top, bottom, left, right. In sound, you've got left, right, front, and back, right? You can make things sound closer or further away. Now, how would that occur? Because we know something about sound. We know that if I was standing right next to you, talking to you, you would hear all the frequencies really well. If I was 100 feet away talking to you, you would hear less high end and you'd hear it quieter, right? So if I want to put something in the back on a mix, I would take off high frequencies, I would make it quieter, and I would add some reverb to it. And then it appears darker and further away. The last thing was the precedence effect. So less than 50 milliseconds apart, you'll only hear the first sound. And the delayed signal has to be up to 10 decibels louder than the original to be perceived as a second signal. I give a few other bits of information about the precedence effect and distance perception. As I was talking about, if I was like further away, you'd get more reverb, you'd have less sound pressure, and you'd have less high frequency content. So that's how you can get front and back. Left and right is panning, right? But there's some other things about arrangement as to where you play sounds too. Well, if you're playing piano, if you're down in first position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion, you've got different sonic characters, different frequency responses on all of those, even though you're playing the same chord, right? So how a musician plays their parts really matters in terms of the arrangement and how the sounds fit together. The last thing on hearing I wanted to mention, the difference between hearing and listening. Got a little story. I love this story. So when I get my hearing checked every year, what they do is they set you up in this room that's sort of soundproof, but not really. It's got the acoustic tiles on the room, and a nurse walks in and she puts headphones on you, and then she gives you a test where she puts a signal into one ear, then the other ear, different levels, different frequencies, and she sort of charts out what your ear is, which ear has better frequency response than the other, and so on and so forth, right? So a few years ago, I sat down and I, went to get my hearing checked, and I sat down in the room, and she gave me the headphones, and she goes, okay, press the button. They give you a button to press when you hear the sound, right? So she said, now press the button when you hear the sound. I'm like, okay. So I heard a sound, I pressed the button. She goes, well, wait, I haven't started the test yet. I'm like, oh, okay, sorry, I was early. Thought I heard something. Then she's like, press it when you hear something. So, okay, I hear something. I press the button. I haven't even given you a signal yet. How come you're pressing the button? I'm like, because I hear a sound. You said press the button when I hear a sound. So, she goes, I don't understand. So I took off the headphones. I go, wait a minute, follow me. I walk out the door, walk down to the hallway, down to the office, down the other down at the end of the hallway. They had a fax machine that was beeping. I said, that's what I was hearing. She goes, okay, the test is over. So my point to that story is that if you focus on what you're trying to hear, you really hear things that you wouldn't normally notice, right? And when you're mixing music, you're really focusing in on different elements, or when you're making music, right? The object, though, is most of your listeners are not paying attention to what you're hearing. Most of them don't even notice that there's music playing, right, when they're listening. So they might hear a lyric, they might hear a drum beat. They don't really focus in like you do because you're creating it, and you're listening to every little sound element and making it perfect. Nobody perceives it that way except the creator. So the object is to step back and understand how other people are hearing what you're doing. It's really wise, though, as people like what we're doing is trying to learn how to be better recordists and better producers and better at audio, is to spend some time really listening. Listen to one piece of music and then listen to it over and listen to it over and focus on different elements and realize what they're really doing where you might not have actually heard it before. Okay, so when you really focus your hearing, you can hear things amazingly. When you pull back and don't really pay attention, you just get the overall feeling of it all. That's what your real listeners are hearing, though, not every detail.